Good afternoon, and today is April 25th, 2016. We're having our informational session, first of three, for the United Way request for proposals. This will be videotaped, so we'll repeat the questions at the end when you have them. It'll be posted online for your review. Also, if you have new staff members coming on board, they can look at this directly. There's a fire exit behind me, and in that direction. At your chairs, there's an online application contact form that looks kind of like the other forms we put out. This one's particularly important. Since there'll be an online application, we need to give you a login and password. So if you think you might apply, I encourage you just to fill this out now and leave it behind.
Is it one per agency, one contact person per agency?
If you could just fill out whomever, whichever program. If you have multiple programs within your agency, I'll just need a contact person.
Per program, one per
Yes,
program.
yes.
So we'll need a contact person per program. Thank you, and we'll have an opportunity at the end to ask questions, so aside from that, no, good question. Aside from that, if you could leave your questions until the end, we'll do the best we can to answer them now. The official responses to questions will be posted in the frequently asked questions, so we refer you to that document, as well as the RFP, which is available on our website. Up here, it shows where you can find it. I'm Joe Roccasano. I work as Director of Agency Relations. I'll be going over eligibility and requirements. Then Nicole Jasdowski, our Director of Program Evaluation, will have really the heart of the presentation, the key dates in the application process. I'll come back up for questions. I would expect that most of your questions would be for Nicole. However, I'll help as much as I can. For eligibility and requirements, of course, we do require you to have a 501c3 status. We don't require the documentation at this point, but we need you to have it available, and there's some other requirements in this section that you can look at in the RFP. The programs must have started by April 1 of 2014 to provide 2 years of operating experience. We don't fund startups. The foundations may be interested in your startups. We fund existing programs and expansion of existing operating programs. Those of you who were here in February for our preview sessions know that this time we're accepting new program applications only in our identified areas of priority, and Nicole will be going over those. If you're currently funded, we will accept applications in the currently funded area that you're in now. If it's non-priority, if it's new priority, you're welcome to apply there. As well, we need you to pay careful attention to outcomes and only apply for those that you support. We do have a circuit breaker in this year that if it's too far off base, we've got an internal process, and we might have to make a phone call to you that says, it's not quite in alignment, so we'll have to not send you forward. We're hoping that nobody does that, primarily because I'm the one who's going to be calling you. So, if you see my number come up, it may or may not be a good one. And another bullet, if you've used a different name for a program in the past, please include this information. Sometimes we know that you modernize your program names, but, just let us know. Don't assume that we know. So we talked about in February, the new minimum request is $20,000. We require you all to do at least that in order to for us to provide more impact. So if you're currently funded and you're receiving less than $20,000 now, you need to come up with a proposal to reach at least $20,000. And there's a checklist, and Nicole will be going over it. You'll be asked to describe how you support and promote the funding relationships with United Way. The more money we raise through our general fund undesignated, the more we can recycle back to the good work you do. So we need to work in partnership, and we depend on you to promote our services to the community and let people know of the good work we do together. And I will turn it to Nicole now.
We're sharing the chair.
So in front of you on the presentation, you also have the key dates. So I'm just going to mention a few points here. May 6th, that form that Joe mentioned, we do need to make sure that we have all of those forms in-house in order to create your login and username for the online application. If you're unsure today, or if you have some questions, if you want to ask me afterwards, you can make up your mind at a later date, but by May 6th. May 16th, last day, you all will be able to ask questions, and then you need to submit those questions in writing to myself and Gail Callisto, who's in the back. Gail, can wave. May 23rd, we'll also post all of the frequently asked questions online, so if you want to go back and forth and, you may have missed something today, you'll have the opportunity to go online and see the actual official FAQs. June 6th, by 5 p.m., all applications are due to us, and they will all be submitted online this year. August 8th through the 29th, for those of you that are currently funded, will remember the question and answer volley. We do this, you may or may not receive questions that the volunteers and staff create. Basically, we do this to give the volunteers some more clarity. So if you know in your application you completed a certain section and we're asking you a question regarding that, it's not to, pick on anything. It's just to make sure that the volunteers have as much information as they need to be able to score and review your application appropriately. By January, you'll be notified of the preliminary funding decisions, and by May, notification of the final decisions with the funding recommendation amounts. So as both Joe and I have mentioned, this year's process will be online. Applicants must follow the guidelines. Please do not submit additional document or materials to us. As Joe mentioned, new program applications will only be accepted for the priority areas identified by United Way. Programs providing services that focus on early childhood and young children, by this we mean birth to 8 years, will be prioritized for consideration. Prevention and early intervention services, again, are a priority across all platform areas. And across all platforms, applicants will be able to provide us with information related to the community needs, specifically under special populations, special service needs. So we'll hop right into the funding priority areas, starting with education. And as we mentioned during the February sessions, under the education platform, one of the funding priorities is under early learning and development. So here in the RFP, you'll notice that we have 3 program of interest types that fall under the early learning and development. So the first one is programs that increase language, literacy, and numeracy skills for young children, again, birth to 8 years. Programs that support young children at risk for developmental, social, emotional, and behavioral issues. And then programs that provide support for parents with young children. And here we mean parent-family engagement, parenting skills, and development. And I've included some sites that you can look at for, some best practices, models of what we mean by engaging family and parents, parenting skills, and development into the programs. And the second area, which is not a priority area, but we're still expecting and accepting applications under academic performance and enrichment. And here there are 4 program of interest types. Programs that improve social or school participation through access to needed supports for school-age children and youth. Programs that build academic skills in social or school-age children and youth. Programs that increase life, career, and college skills for school-age children and youth through out-of-school time and or enrichment opportunities. Programs that improve social, emotional, and relationship skills of school-age children and youth through structured and trusting mentoring relationships. There's a spot right up front here. Under the health platform, the priority area here is maternal, infant, and child health. Here we have 3 program of interest types that we're looking for. Programs that support maternal health and infant nutrition and strengthen the bond between parents and their babies. Programs that help children, youth, and families gain knowledge and skills needed for healthy and active lifestyles. And third, one-stop programs for families with young children that address the social conditions contributing to poor health outcomes. And here, under the health platform, specifically, we're looking for programs that are in alignment with and provide clinical care services through the one-stop approach. The second area in health, which is not a priority area, is older adults and caregiver support. Here we mean 55 and up. So here are programs that facilitate regular engagement with healthcare and behavioral health professionals while addressing the social conditions of health that contribute to poor health outcomes. Here we're looking for access to healthy foods, safe housing, and transportation options. Well, under financial stability, here are the 2 funding priority areas. The first one is the first program of interest type under employment and workforce development. And we're looking here for programs that improve employment skills and credentials, as well as promoting job placement and retention for families with young children. And then under the financial education and asset building area, here we're looking for 3 program of interest types. The first one being programs for families with young children that promote increased money management skills through individualized planning, financial education, or financial coaching activities. Secondly, programs that help families with young children secure and/or maintain assets, including home, vehicle, microbusiness, or a small business. And then lastly, programs that assist families with young children in securing tax credits through the provision of free tax preparation services. The third area is income stabilization. Here, programs that assist families navigate health and human services to address financial crises, and programs that determine eligibility and assist families to secure income supports. The other pieces under employment and workforce development that are not high priority areas, but we're still accepting applications under, would be programs that provide educational supports to allow for high school equivalency certification, vocational training, or career and technical employment training, programs that improve life skills required for employment, college, and independent living, and programs that promote pre-college academic skill building opportunities and experiences. Okay, so those are the 3 platform areas with the highlighted focus areas identified in your presentation. So you can go back and look to see, and we'll get into kind of deeper, I am sure during the question period, what you're looking for in terms of program type. Onto performance measures. So here in the RFP, you've noticed again that we've outlined suggested and other performance measurements for each program of interest type. Applicants are encouraged to select the measures that United Way has identified as suggested and that aligns with your program of interest type that you're applying under. Preferences for programs that select outcomes that lead to moderate or long-term change. You're asked to provide us with 3 years of data on particular measures in the application. Preference will be given to programs that demonstrate strong performance compared to peers. United Way is also revising its reporting system for the 2017-2019 process, and funded agencies may be asked to report on other or additional performance measures than those that you'll be including in your application. Once we get through the notification of who's being funded, we'll provide you with additional information at that time. Reporting requirements will be made available upon funding announcements that will be made in May. Application scoring. As Joe mentioned earlier, programs that are not, that do not clearly fit the United Way identified priority areas will be reviewed by staff, and if they're not in alignment, they will not be forwarded on for scoring. And as Joe mentioned, we will provide you notification if that happens. Applications will be scored out of 150 points, which is the same as the previous 2 cycles. Again, here I would stress to consider the point value when you allocate space in the application. You can go ahead now, Gail. And when you get, when we have those application contact forms, we'll be able to create your username and login. Okay. Let me just go. Can you make sure you store it to take on this as the username and that is the password? Thank you. And Gail's going to log us in. Use, oh,
The links that are on there but not on here, will it be?
once we get the contact forms back, you'll be allowed to go in. I just wanted to show you, it's pretty straightforward, the application. It kind of follows your paper copies that you've been used to submitting. So once we get that up, the link is in there, but you'll get to this point and you won't be able to go any further.
And for your best practice research models you mentioned?
Yes, they're not in there? Not on that presentation? I can give them to you at the end if it applies to your program type. And Gail, you're going to have to stay back there in order to navigate for me. So when you enter, this is what you will see. There will be additional instructions in there. You'll want to click on the Funding Application tab at the top. And then the preliminary information, program information, don't click yet, and organizational information are the old cover page formats. So go back to the preliminary. So on the preliminary, you'll have to, in order to be considered for funding, we need you to check the box there that says you began operations on or before April 1. The amount of funding request, as Joe mentioned, the minimum is $20,000. And then the next question is if United Way currently funds your program or if this is a new program. Again, new applications will only be accepted in those identified priority areas we went over. And then you're going to want to make sure that you hit save on each of the tabs at the top. Go ahead to program information. Here you're going to want to include your program name, program director, street, city, zip, and then which platform focus area you're applying under. Or, go ahead. Organizational name, you'll want to enter the organizational name that you do business as. This is because it's tied to our Salesforce system, so however you're identified in Salesforce, we need the correct, if it's a lengthy, I'm thinking Western New York United, you might have to spell that out, sorry. But that's however it's entered into the system. Our system is going to pop up and pre-populate some of the information there. Once you get into the system, if you do have issues with that, you can definitely give me a call and I can walk you through that. Go ahead to applicant contact. Here again, this mirrors the information that you're going to fill out today. Your applicant name. Make sure that this is your legal name. For example, if your name, you go by Susie, but your real name is Suzanne, please enter in Suzanne. Again, it is tied to our Salesforce system. Program summary. Here is where you're going to write your brief summary description, including your organization program name, population served, and program elements. Again, here I stress brief. And the system will actually give you a red sign if you go over the key limit. So you'll have to go back and play around with it if you have used a lengthier description in the past. Program type. Here, when you go to the bottom, you're going to select the program focus area, and it may already pre-populate when you go to select the area in which you're applying for funding under. Your program focus area. The ones that have the stars or asterisks next to them, those are the priority areas. And then thirdly, you'll select the program result statement there, or your program of interest type. Under population, these are all the narrative questions. Scroll down, thank you, that you'll answer again here. There will be character limits. You should have enough space. We kind of made sure we took the longest application we had and plugged in and made sure we had the correct character limits. Under design here, again, these are programs 7A through G. And you'll want to make sure, again, that you stay within, looking at the point values assigned to each of those areas to make sure that you're allocating enough space. If something's worth 3 points, as opposed to your program design section, which is worth 45 points, you're going to want to put more detail into that 45-point section. Okay. Here is the program staffing and qualifications. One change that we did make from the last few cycles, under the years of service, you're still going to enter your years of service, but you will not be scored on that component. And during feedback sessions and some of the feedback we received through the survey, it was a little bit hard, and the volunteers struggled with that a little bit in terms of saying, okay, somebody could have been there for 20 years, but are they really dedicated and spending 100%, 50% of their time within that program? So, we took that feedback. You'll still be asked to, provide that information, but that will not be scored this cycle. Okay, performance measurements. Here you're going to provide us with the past 3 years, pretty similar to past cycle applications. The measures we're working on right now, our IT department, they will be pre-populated. Hopefully, he's having a little bit of an issue making it work, and I don't know the technical what he's doing, but it will either be a drop-down box or we'll have it as we have in the past, and you'll write in your performance measures into this section. And we ask you again to look at the suggested and other performance measures that we've identified per the program of interest type and try to align very closely with those types. The second one is, again, performance measurement, the second part of the narrative component of the application, where you're going to provide us information on how data is collected, how you use that information, and other feedback to improve your program as such. The budget section. The first 2 questions, actually, based on your feedback from last cycle, we flipped that and have the narrative now first, and the budget chart will be second. Same as always here, including the information. I will note in the program revenue sources section, if you have multiple grants, foundations, if you could, if there's not enough space, if you could just total that information. So if you have, say, for example, 5 grants from the county, just total the dollar value if you don't have enough space. If you have enough space to write that out, please do so. And then finally is the participation requirements that Joe mentioned earlier. It's just a checkbox. If you're currently funded, the expected opportunities are, the logo is displayed, you're conducting a United Way campaign, you're promoting undesignated giving, you're providing agency speakers, and then other items that you may, do United Way focus but have not been identified there. And then additional opportunities to engage with United Way. Some of those are listed below. If there's anything that you can think of that is not listed, feel free to put that in the other box and explain that for us. Okay. And then make sure at each tab there's the save button. Make sure you're saving your work. If you feel comfortable maybe doing a Word document and playing around with that and then transferring the information into the online application, please do that as well, whatever makes you comfortable. I know a lot of people will do the Word document and copy paste from that. At the top RFP, top right, Gail, RFP applicant, you can log out. Actually, you know what? Leave it up in case anyone has questions. Sorry. And I also included the point values in your presentation, so you have that in front of you if you need to go back and forth with that. Under the United Way identified result and program type, you'll see 9 points dedicated there. And this is for those new program applicants that are applying under the identified priority areas. Population served is 39 points. Program design section, as I mentioned, is 45 points. Program staffing is 12 points with not being scored on the years of service. Performance measurement section is 30 points. The budget is 15 points. And then the additional item, the funded program recognition and participation requirements. Also in the RFP, we did make mention that that component, the funded program recognition, is required to complete that. And if we need to, we will use that to make funding recommendations as well. If something's on the fence or we need additional information, we'll go back to that and make recommendations based on that information as well. We're good on time? Joe, I'll turn it back to you.
So please contact us. Actually, we do have a preference for email over phone, just so we can get your exact question and respond to you exactly. But, you know, we're available by phone if you need us. And I would like to stress that, you know, we look forward to your applications. And once again, if you're currently receiving funding, you do need to apply again. And I get to make these phone calls every year. 1 or 2 currently funded agencies forgets to reapply. And, you know, that's often due to staff turnover, et cetera. But, you know, if you're facing that, please make sure that you have a smooth handoff so that at least you have a chance of getting funding again. So we'll open the floor for questions, and I'll need to repeat the questions. They don't have to be questions. Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to know, when we click save on each page, does that, like, when is it submitted versus just saving as you sort of put the information in?
When is it submitted compared to just saved by page?
Gonna make us work. So at the bottom of each, you'll save it. At the very end, there will be a submitted button. And once you're absolutely certain you want to submit that application, you'll click on that. I'm pretty sure there will also be a function to print the application when you're done. Our IT department is just working on some few minor glitches that we've had with it, but definitely you'll submit it at the very end once you're 100% done, as well as being able to print that. And if it makes you feel any better to, again, do a Word document and then copy paste so you have something, make sure you do that.
And I would add that there'll be an automatic reply that it's been submitted. We had a question over here? Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what your funding is as far as priority versus non-priority programs? Is that established, or is that going to be after you see how many are there?
The question was expected funding priority compared to non-priority. The answer is that'll be established after we receive the applications in concert with our management staff and our volunteer review. You had a question over here?
Yes, under your educational platform, did I see that you actually had models for parent and family engagement? Did you say that, or was I just kind of?
Question is, are there models in family
Did
engagement?
you expect us to put into this certain models?
Okay.
I wouldn't say per se there's expected models. I just gave a few examples on the parent and family engagement component of it. I know at the the preview sessions, we did have some questions around what do we mean by family engagement. So I put some links in there, and I'll share them with you at the end,
Okay,
if you're
thank you.
interested in that.
Just
Yep,
wondered.
yep, absolutely.
Yes.
Under the education platform, you have as a priority prevention and early intervention services. Is it prevention only for those geared towards early childhood, or is it prevention across the age spectrum?
The question was the prevention and early intervention clarification?
It's for early intervention, is across all platform areas. You'll notice the thread in each of the platform areas. We're stressing families with young children, birth to 8, programs that incorporate families with young children, maternal infant health, those types of programs that we're focusing on, the priority areas this cycle.
That's, no, so prevention, so then you're focusing on early childhood.
Early childhood
intervention
and-
across the spectrum. So
Yes.
A prevention program that services school-age childcare would not get priority points?
We'll talk offline on that one.
You, then you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. On the, in the RFP, under the performance measures, there's a performance, other performance measure that says children receiving parent support programs, and I'm just not clear what that means if it says children are receiving parent support programs. Are parents receiving support, or?
So a question about children receiving parent support programs.
Yes.
What page are you on,
It's
Tracy?
Page 5, it's the second program and interest, the third bullet under other.
Oh, number of children receiving parent support programs. So here, I'm going to call on Melody to go into a little bit of detail on what we mean by that. We had some deep conversation around these ones. So I'm going to ask Mel to come up and talk a little bit what she's looking for in this area.
Good afternoon. I'm Melody Baker. I'm the Director of Education here, and there was quite a bit of talk around the children and the children piece and the education piece as it related to programs. So what we mean by that is programs that are for children, but they involve parenting, some sort of parent involvement. For instance, if you have a letter numeracy program, and you're increasing literacy for young children, one of the things that we're looking for is how you're planning to infuse some sort of parent development in that process. And it can be as simple as meeting with the parent or having regular parent meetings to talk about what's going on during the daytime so that it can be aligned during the afternoon. So the number of parent programs, or the number of children programs that are actually infusing parenting into the process. So, is that clear? Thank you.
There was a question up front? No?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have.
It's okay.
I actually have a question and a follow-up.
All right.
So the first one is in regard to what you define as new program applications. So does the program have to be funded, a program that's been funded by United Way in the past? Or because you have both in that screen that you showed us, it asks if it's a new program and then if it's funded by United Way. So is that part of the criteria, or?
We consider a new program application a program that's not currently funded by United Way.
So on that preliminary slide where it said currently funded or new program, it's going to be one or the other that you're selecting there.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the follow-up question was in terms of your character limitations, are you, aside from the program summary where you had it listed, are you going to list for each area what the limitations are?
Let me talk to IT to see if he can make that available. It's pretty generous in terms of length. Like I said, we used probably an application that used the most characters possible. So we were able to kind of judge it based on utilized the most characters and then the fewest characters, and we came up with kind of that medium amount. But I can ask him if he can make that available, or at the bottom, he might have already included in there, you have 5 characters remaining, or 5 words remaining, but I'll double check, and we'll put that on the frequently asked questions, okay?
Yes.
Under financial education and asset building, would foreclosure prevention be considered a program that would maintain assets?
Would foreclosure prevention be considered a program to maintain assets? Get back to
Oh, yeah, hold on one second, let me finish the question. Foreclosure prevention?
Yeah.
In what area are you looking at? And that might be an offline question that we answer. Depending upon, the program design, what components you're including in the program, so I can answer questions afterwards as well.
And I'll state here that all the offline questions we get, if they're relevant to more than one person, we'll post them in the frequently asked questions as well, so you all have access to that. Yes?
Can I follow up on the character count? Would it be possible, please, if we could actually, for each of those, actually put in the character limit? Because I know for government grants I've done, it's really tough everybody's gonna what I'll do is I'll put all this jargon text and then see how much characters that is for each question. But to save us all time on that, would it be possible, to really request IT department to see how many characters are there next to each question? And if possible, maybe even put it in the coding on the part, because that would be a huge time saver for us.
We'll see what we can do, Ben,
Yeah, we-
just for you.
Thanks.
We'll pass along that request to put in IT character limits visible in each section. Thank you. Yes, Lori?
Under the health platform for older adults, where it says addressing social conditions that negatively impact health, is there other social conditions that would apply besides the access to healthy foods, housing, and transportation?
We have a health question, and Mary Kay Comtois, we're going to bring you up to the stage.
Sure.
And introduce yourself and repeat the question. And see, we have United Way ringers in the audience for those questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Kay Comtois. I'm the Director of Health Initiatives. Yes, we're really looking at the social determinants of health. So they just give you an idea of some of them. And so a lot of the programs that are working with older adults have others. I'm trying to think. We have some others over with the maternal health. But it could be violence in the home, could be housing, it could be legal. There's quite a long list of social determinants, and you can Google that and get a little bit more information on it.
Thank you. If I'm not spotting you, just wave more vigorously. Bam, yes.
I didn't see in the budget if there's a place for us to identify subcontractors or partner agencies as may be the case.
Is there a place in the budget for subcontractors or partner agencies?
To explain the partnerships, or you said in the budget section?
Right.
Who asked the question? You asked the
Yeah,
question.
in the budget. I would imagine somewhere in the narrative we would be describing the design and talking about partners.
Correct.
But is there some place in the budget where we would be breaking those costs
If
down?
you provide dollars to subcontractors, is that the question? Yes, that's under the program revenue. In the program budget, it is included in there, either on the program revenue side or part of the program cost.
Okay.
There's lines that,
And the cost
other,
actions, I
yes,
would imagine.
yes.
Okay.
There was someone, yes.
So if you applied for a United Way grant previously and you're not sure what the score was, can you access your previous score so that you can use that going forward?
Yes, as part of our debriefing process, the question was, can you get access to your previous scores? And those were sent out with the funding letters. We realized it's been a couple years, so if you contact us, we'll get you what you scored last time compared to the average in that group. Yes.
Whenever young children are stated,
Mhm.
it's birth to 8 years old.
Yes.
I'm looking specifically at the workforce development under financial stability.
Yes, young children means birth to 8. Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Two on the scoring. One, the 9 points is only available for priority programs, correct?
Yes.
The 9 points is available in the priority program area, yes.
Okay. And then for the United Way, where you're asking what our involvement is that you're asking what we have previously done or what we plan to do, and is that scored?
Is United Way involvement scored? It's not going to be scored, it'll be looked at as the process comes to a close. For currently funded organizations, we're asking primarily for what you've already done. If you'd like to put in your plans, there's no harm in doing that, but we're really looking for a look back over the past 12 months. Sure.
And for new applicants, it will also have a listing of what you plan to do if you receive United Way funding. Again, as mentioned, logo would be on there, promoting undesignated giving, things of running a campaign. The other opportunities that were listed, it will be the same list will appear for both currently funded and new applicants.
Anyone else? Yes.
So if you have a program that's been funded previously by the United Way, but you can expand that program to target the young population, can you submit 2 different applications, or does it have to be one?
So the question is, when is it 1 application, when is it 2 applications?
I would say if it's been a program that's been operating, and you could provide information and data to back that up, you could submit several applications, knowing that, based on which area that you're applying, the competitiveness of that. So carefully selecting which area that you're considering. I would also just advise of that, if that answers your full question.
Yes.
So if your currently funded program had part of its program focusing in on some level of early childhood, they would be eligible for those priority points?
So if a currently funded program has some component of early childhood, are they eligible for priority?
It would have to be a new program application that you're submitting in those identified priority areas. So the currently funded program, you could submit as is, and then if you wanted to submit an additional application in the priority area, you could do that as well, if it's been in existence 2 years and you have data to back that program up.
Okay. So then when you're scoring, are priority scores against priority and non-priority scores against non-priority?
Yes, if you want to phrase it like that. The 9 points will be assigned to the priority areas that we identified today and that are also highlighted in the RFP.
Right, but if you're looking at the educational platform,
Yep.
will there be those that are priority? And that will be scored out of 150, including the 9 points?
Yes.
And then you'd have another section, because they're not eligible.
Of
for
non,
9 points.
right, of the 9 priorities, still scored out of the 150 points.
But are they compared? Like, if they're, are you gonna scale them?
Yeah, we'll compare like programs to like programs in the identified priority areas. So if we have 5 applications that come in under the early learning, the first program of interest type, we'll look at those 5 programs and go with each of the different program of interest type, depending upon how many applications we receive in those areas.
Yes.
To follow up on that question, so in dealing with performance measures, especially since you wanted to go back 2 years, if it's from an existing program and now you're adding this new focus, are we allowed to use data from the existing program that may meet that new program focus?
So question of a new program focus using existing data from a current program.
We're going to talk offline about that, about that one. Again, I would say it would depend on the program design and program elements that you're including in the program. If it's a program that's been in existence and operating, you should have program data to support that and what you've done in the past 2 years, not using data from another program that may or may not align with
Now
that.
you're adding this new focus, so that's what I'm trying to understand.
We'll talk offline in more detail. I'm sure a few of you might have those similar type, yes, everyone's shaking their head, similar type questions. So we can talk offline about, again, I'll go back to what is the program design and the data that can support that and evidence to support that program, that it's been in operation and that you have deliverables to support that this program has existed 5 years, 10 years, however many years. Not
Then
maybe.
how can it be a new program if this, what I'm trying to understand is if you classify a new program as a focus area, but then you still have this requirement that you want 2 to 3 years worth of data, then how is it a new program?
It's not, it's a new program that you're applying for United Way, currently existing program, 2 years or more.
So it's new to the United Way?
It's a new program focus area to United Way, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Well, please do check the frequently asked questions and keep in touch. And thank you for coming.